So maybe you just picked up a brand new Sony mirrorless camera, or perhaps you're gonna get one for this holiday season, wishful thinking, but it might be the first time you've ever touched a Sony camera. You've probably also heard us talking about real-time tracking on our videos over and over and over. Well, if this is your first experience with that, it's a fantastic tool that actually simplifies the whole process of getting good photos for you. I'm gonna show you how to do that so you don't have to dig through the menu for hours. Now in the past, there have been a couple scenarios that have been tricky as far as focusing goes. Now, first off, we would often have to switch different focusing modes whether we were shooting a still life object or shooting something moving like sports or kids, pets, something like that. The second issue is, what if we have people's faces? If I want the focus to go right to a person's face, I'd have to turn face detection on, and if I didn't want it to go to face, I'd have to turn it off. The beautiful thing about Sony's real-time tracking is it simplifies that whole process. I'm going to show you how that works next. Now this might very well be the first time that you've touched a manual camera, and I absolutely get that it can be intimidating. So you might want to stay in full auto mode for a while, and you actually still get real-time tracking in this mode. But there's something we have to do first. So when we turn on our camera, I want you to look for that FN button right above the thumb pad. Push that, it brings up a whole bunch of features, and we're looking for one that says focus mode. Go in there and make sure it says AFC. This stands for autofocus continuous. Now the next step is very simple because we're going to find it on that same FN option. Hit that button and go to the option that says focus area. When you go in there, choose the very bottom option. It's going to say tracking wide. Now how this works is that the camera is going to decide what it's going to focus on for you, and it usually chooses whatever's closest and most central. But the beautiful thing here is once it does choose that for you, it will follow it tenaciously no matter where it goes in the frame. So whether this be a pet or a person or a vehicle, it does a great job. If it's a still life like a plant or a landscape, again, it'll choose whatever it thinks is closest and most central and then follow it. The other cool thing, if it does detect a face, it will automatically choose that person's face and eyes and lock on that without you having to do any further input. Now, even though the camera's deciding where it's going to focus for you, you can touch on the screen even in full auto and choose for it to focus somewhere else, or maybe pick a different person's face. You can absolutely do that, but eventually you're probably going to want to graduate from auto mode and get into some more manual controls. Or perhaps you want to decide where the camera starts tracking right from the beginning, rather than have to have it decide and then you touch later where you want it to go. So now that we've left full auto mode, we still want to keep our focus mode in AFC, but when we go to focus area and down to tracking again, we're going to see a lot more options. Now we still have tracking wide frame, and that works exactly the same as it does in full auto, but now we have a whole bunch of other options. Now there is a tracking zone. This works a lot like the wide, but I can limit an area in the frame that the camera will focus on. We don't often use this mode, but it can be good if you're having a really hard time getting a separate spot to lock onto a subject. As long as the subject's within this zone, there's a very good chance it'll pick it up. We do, however, prefer to use the individual spots, and there's a few of them. The first one I want to talk about is center. Basically, the camera is always going to default right to the middle. I can put the middle of the frame on whatever I want to track, touch the focusing button, and that's where it's going to start locking on. Now we also have spots, and they're small, medium, large, but we often like to use the medium size. This works a lot like the center spot, except if I move it around, it will remember where I've moved it to. Now when I'm using the center spot or a flexible spot, I get to decide where the camera focuses. I could choose an object. Even though there's faces in the scene, it will not go to those. Now I can also always touch on the screen at any time to choose something different. But what's really cool about the Sonys in regards to people, it knows what people's bodies are like and it knows where their faces are. So for example, if I touch the spot even on Jordan's chest here, it will automatically detect him as a person and then go to his face and eyes. Now if they turn away and I can't see their eyes or face, it'll go back to just tracking them as if they were an object. It really makes this whole process very simple. Now maybe you're one of those people that hates human beings and really prefers the honest and quiet company of animals instead. Well, there's a mode for you in here as well. Now you have to go in the menu and set it, but when you turn animal eye detect on, the camera will simply now prefer animals as a face detect option, working exactly the same way as we discussed, and it'll ignore those disgusting humans. Now let's say you're one of those people that likes animals and humans and you're going to switch back and forth between both. Well, in that case, I do highly recommend setting that animal eye detect on and off to a custom button. It's easy to do. Once you've got that set, you can do either one. So hopefully you've seen the beauty of using real-time tracking and how it can make your whole focusing situations much simpler. It's very easy to set up. You have a few options to customize it exactly the way you want. We hope you guys found this educational. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget, please comment below if you have more questions. Subscribe, check out our Instagram and Twitter. Don't forget dpreview.com for more info. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon with another midweek short.